Hello, everybody, and welcome back to part 3 of the RPG deck building. Again, my name is Redmage, and you're at childrenoftitan.com. Alright, so, the first video, I talked a little bit about the tournament. I talked a little bit about the character Samler Alskabert, who is the character that I'm generating now, called the Collector. And then the second video, we kind of went through the process of getting out all the cards that we think that should be in the deck. And then I've kind of done a little bit of precursor stuff, again, with the magic of video, and I've eliminated some cards out of the rotation, and I'm going to go through that thinking process right now. Like I said before in the previous video, Samler is a collector of artifacts, relics, things like that, of stuff that's fallen down on the battlefield. So he's kind of like a pack rat, more or less, an undead pack rat. So with that in mind, we went with Darkness as our faction, along with some neutral cards, and I threw a bunch of stuff in there. I keep saying we, but we, because you and I are both taking this adventure. So what I did then is I went through and I eliminated all the cards that had 3 or more, because you can only have 3 cards of one particular type in each deck. So that's why I took these out: evil spirits, giant bats, vultures, stuff like that, relic hunters, antidotes, because you can only have 3. So that little stack right there is all the stuff that is, multiples of the stuff that we pulled out before. So this stuff is going to go away because we don't need that stuff anymore. So there we go. So that stuff is stuff we don't need. Now, I like to keep my decks pretty small, anywhere between 50 and 60 cards. I was maybe shooting for 50 to 60 cards in this deck. Sometimes I run as high as 70, 75. There is a minimum of 50 cards in the deck. So what happened was, when I went through everything that we had pulled out last game, I had 40 creature cards, 40 total creature cards, and then I had 75... It's like 77, but around 75 neutral cards. Now, the neutral cards included things like armors, weapons, magic, enchantments, stuff like that. So then what I did is, to kind of cut that down a little bit, I went through and I started going through both of these decks and started cutting the fat down a little bit. What don't we need? That kind of a thing. So I eliminated... so I eliminated some cards, and it's these cards in particular. Right now, the cards that I kept are the cards that I kept. I'm gonna have to play test out through some of those to kind of make sure that I have right now, because in the deck right now I have about 30 creature cards here. So these are all the creature cards. There's about 30 of them that are creatures that I think would be traveling with Samler. But there's 30 creature cards, and there's still about 50 of these. So I have about an 80-card deck, roughly an 80-card deck. And I want to go through, these cards are good and important and all, because they're part of the actual deck, but it's more of the, since this is more of an RPG, I want to explain why I took out some of these cards, these more powerful cards, and I left a lot of weak cards in here, a lot of stuff that was level 5 or less. I have very, very few cards that are higher than level 5. And here's my explanation for that. This is an RPG thing, and this is supposed to be the start of your hero's adventure. So I basically reset, I am, in my mind, I'm resetting Samler. He's only been around for, a handful of years. At this point, he's reached level 5. Or he's I'm basically considering each year as a level. So he's been around for 5 years or so. He's still learning his powers, his abilities to do certain things. So there is some magic in here, because he's inherently magic in and of itself, being an undead creature. He's also a tinkerer, so I left a couple of things in Tinkerer. there's, like I said, there's hardly any upper cards. I did leave this power core in there. This is a level 9, so it is going to take 4 turns to charge. But the reason why I left it in there is because he does have a lot of creatures, and a lot of these creatures are 1/1. So he, in those 5 years, would find a way to give them a little bit more protection against people that have things like Shockwave, which automatically do 1 hit to everything in there. So with this, they can take 2 of those shots before they really die. So that's my thinking with keeping that in there. There is maybe 1 or 2 other relic cards that are over that amount. But none that are very, very big. I even took out I took out the casting container, and I took out some other stuff, and you'll see these in this deck here with the deck of no's. So let's start here with these. Originally, I had all 3 vampires. I had maxed up on vampires, but my thought of that was, and the reason why I took these out, is that the vampires, although they're powerful, they're really great to have. It has nothing to do with, like, the cost versus benefit. It's really because since Samler's really not that powerful, he's only level 5 in comparison to them, who they're level 8. So it's really going to be hard for Samler to kind of keep an entourage of 3 vampires happy. He might find one that, that wanted to kind of, adventure and kind of do and hang out and that kind of, do things and kind of hang out with. So that to me, storyline-wise, made sense, but to have 3, it was going to be a little bit harder to pull off story-wise. So that's why I pulled those 2 extra vampires out. When it came to something like Full Contact, this is an enhancement. Full Contact basically negates a lot of the, no damage dealt kind of a thing. And I really just pulled that out because this is level 10. Again, he's just getting used to being magical. He wasn't really magical beforehand, so he's only learning a couple of things. So I think as he grows to get beaten up a lot more with a lot of these items, or finds or people start using the negating spells against him, he'll develop Full Contact. He'll figure a way through that. Tiatwaski, we just went ahead and pulled this out. It's a level 14 magic, and I didn't think that he would be powerful enough to really pull this spell off, so I'm not going to have it in there because it's just magic. It's a level 14, so there's no way I'd be able to get that out realistically. Anyway, now when it came to armors, you're only allowed 2 armors. The armors that I stuck with a Terrifying Mask because Samler is dead. He is going to be negating half that damage because they're going to be afraid to touch him. And then I also stuck with the Breastplate of Life. They're both really low-level armors, so they really don't offer a lot of protection at a level 5. But I think story-wise, I think they generate because the Breastplate of Life adds +1, which is just Samler's natural regeneration for picking up flesh as he walks around. And here I took out the Magic Nullifier Gauntlets. This is something that he would probably have. But between the Breastplate of Life and the Terror Mask, I thought that those match the character a little bit more than these Nullifier Gauntlets. If it was something that had like Grab, Relic, or whatever, I probably would have gone for that. But that's why I took that part out. Abominations, I had the 2 Abominations in there before, according in the last video. But I just honestly thought, again, these are level 8s. It's very unlikely that he's going to be able to construct level 8 apparitions or abominations. He's going to be better off assembling regular level 1 zombies at this point, as he's still getting used to his magical inherentness. So that's why I took both of those out. Thermal Vision, I could not, as much as I wanted the bonus to attack, I could not justify how he would get Thermal Vision at this stage. It is a low-level enchantment, and considering it's only 3, if I was making a go-win deck, absolutely I put Thermal Vision in there. As you can see, it's already sleeved, so it's already been in several decks. But for Samler, even taking out somebody's eye and putting it into his own, I didn't want to put Thermal Vision in there, so that's why that's not in there. Same with Grounding Blast. It's a level 5 instant, but I'm just going to assume that that Samler can't pull this spell off yet. He hasn't learned it yet. He hasn't had it used against him yet. And until he has it used against him, he won't use it. I tried to pick out spells in here that are pretty usual ones that people would use, so I could justify that. Hey, look, these are ones that have been used against him. So he learned to counterspell, and then learn that spell. But Grounding Blast just isn't one of those that he's had used against him yet. Here's another armor that I took out, which is Shield of Decay, which is basically anti-holy, which would have been great. But again, I went for the more story-driven Mask and Life Breastplate, and then there's the Light Darkness armor. Again, these are much higher. This adds 50. I think in total, to my defense, I think I get like 30 or 50 out of the two. So it's not something. Again, Semler's not meant to win. He's just meant to kind of be there. Power boost, I just took that out because he doesn't need to boost these things. He expects them to die. That's what they're there for. That's what Samler's there for. So he's not going to waste energy, his precious energy, to try to boost something that he inevitably just wants to die. He'd rather win by sheer swarm than anything if he is going to win. I did take out 2 Psychic Motivators, really just because I think he just needs one. I don't think he needs to burn through the deck as quickly as possible. Although if the deck stays at about the level that it is, about the 85, I will probably throw in one more just to kind of clear through the deck a little easier. That being said, now we get into a lot of these relics. These are a lot of relics that are way over the level of him to have. But these are ones that I will probably put into his sideboard, his special sideboard, because these are ones that other people will probably use and that I will find on the battlefield and be able to use in the future. Because again, he's only been to a couple of battles, low-level battles, so he's got some low-level relics, like music boxes and stuff like that, stuff that he can get a hold of. But Odin's Eye here, Puppet Strings, the Casting Box, because that's level 10. That Casting Box is level 10. Runestone, I left it with 2. I just took out a third. I just thought that the third was a little overkill. If I need to use 3 Runestones, then obviously they're doing something wrong. The Armory I took out just because he doesn't carry a lot. He has one weapon for 2 weapon slots. He only has one weapon because he doesn't like to hit stuff. He doesn't have any strength behind it because he's got no muscle. He's really got no muscles attaching to his arms, so he's lucky they don't fall off on their own. Ancient Writings, it's a level 16 relic. He's not going to have these yet. He's not gone anywhere yet. I originally had these in my deck for when they did a raid on some cities because he went in and took their stuff. Casting Container, it's a level 12 relic. He's not going to have found these yet, but he may find them on the battlefield. Same thing with Hands of Fate and Hands of Power. These are really, really good cards for Samler because he doesn't have a lot of power. He doesn't have a lot of weapons, and these would be fantastic for him if I was making that kind of win deck, but I'm not. I'm making these might be a little bit harder to find for him, so I left that out. Soul Keeper, which is right up his alley right there, of containing souls and things like that, basically recasting from the Boneyard. But I thought that it being a level 13 relic, he really shouldn't have it yet. Same thing with Torture Rack. As much as I really love the Torture Rack, it's a level 16. He's not going to have that yet. Same thing with the Opticals. They're level 13. The Iron Golem's 11. And then the Holy Scrolls at 16. Same thing with the Writings. He's not going to have gotten those yet. So I took those out. I just went ahead and just decided that those would be taken out. But I would put all of these in his special sideboard to be grabbed if somebody used them and died. Now, if they're in the deck, if they're in their deck, even or in their hand, if they've never been played, Samler's not going to know that they have them unless he goes over there and searches once they've died. But who's to say what happens after that? Samler could get jumped while he's searching for them, may not get them. But if he sees somebody using them and sees them fall, he can go over there and snag him real quick. Like, hey, look. Here's this, but instead of taking somebody else's card, and keeping it for myself, I'm going to have the sideboard of these stuff that he could potentially find that he wants. These are like the one. This is like his Christmas list, more or less, that he wants Santa Kaiser to deliver for him. The creatures are basically all still there. Ghouls, zombies, stuff like that. I didn't change too much in there. Same thing with these regular cards. You can see I just have a lot of ancient golems. I did leave in there. They are level 7, but I left them in there because if I have 3 of them, they're going to be fairly common, and he's probably going to be able to pick those up. Magic wise, I did stick with the disarm. I do have a couple of high-level magic cards, just because he would have encountered situations before. He may not be able to play that card for a long time because he's got to figure out what he's doing, and that's just because he hasn't been in a lot of fights. So I may not use that all the time, which kind of plays in. There's the Breastplate of Life, Mask of Terror, Forearm Fighting, Rock Form, things like that. I kept the Relic Pouch just because he is the collector. He's going to have a pouch to store relics in. Sonic Scream, stuff like that made a lot of sense. The mystery box I kept basically because it's a level 5. He would have found it because it's low enough level. It's not a super rare card, so he would have been able to find one at some point while he's going through. Tears of Blood, Antidotes, stuff like that. Relic Hunters, of course, he's always going to use. Petrifieds, the Health Regulator. Again, Relic Buster, it is a level 11 spell. I felt that he would have the ability to take a relic apart and put it back together. That's kind of what he does. So, same thing with Armor. He'd be able to find the inconsistencies in the craftsmanship. Necklace of Knowledge, a lot of people have that. Diplomacy, I am tempted to take out. I will be honest with you. I'm tempted to take out because taking Diplomacy at face value of what Diplomacy is, of like, hey, look, let's solve this through other means. It's not really in Samler's best interest. So I may potentially take these out. In fact, the more that I think about it, I just want to take these out. So I am going to take out Diplomacy. Now I'm thinking about it. Psychosis. Okay, here we go. Here's a level 8 relic that I thought that would be good because he is a tinkerer and because he's like a kind of a put it together kind of person. He would have a puzzle. He would have a puzzle box of some kind. So at some point he would be like, oh look, this is what gives him his attraction to relics, is this particular puzzle box. So that's why that is in there over some of the other higher level relics that are in there. So here we go. So we have a deck. 85, well, probably now 82 because I took out those 3 diplomacies in there. So this is a nice approximately 80 cards in this deck. It's a little bit beefier than what I want, but what I'll do is I'll play test it through. And the way that you play test it is you literally just play on your own. You just you roll the dice. You draw your cards like you normally would. You don't worry about taking damage and stuff like that. You just want to see what the speed of your game is. See how fast you can get your deck to move for you, get the cards that you want, make sure that your strategy is solid. That's something I probably won't do because I want Samler to have a little bit of a clunkiness to him. I'll probably play one game just to see if I need to put in that other motivator, one of these other motivators. But other than that, I think the deck that I have is pretty well suited to Samler. I think it's clunky enough where it feels new, where he feels like a new character. He's not overpowered. He's not underpowered. He's just now getting into fighting for real as he's wandered around from where he was from the battlefield. Because if you think about it, he's level 5, so the war has moved on past him. So because he moves so slow, because he's had to regenerate himself and so forth, the battle's moved on to different regions. So because he's moving so slow, he's just now catching up to those regions. So that's why I kind of wanted to keep him a little clunky and keep him kind of like that. So as you can see, the story of Samler kind of adapted a little bit more as I was making these cards, and that's kind of what Dark Legacy does for you, is it lets you kind of adapt or adopt kind of a philosophy for your character. And again, if I wanted to make another character and just have him be, I am the greatest sword fighter of all time, yeah, I'd take sword fighting, I'd take lots of sword fighting stuff, or I'd take ninja stuff, or I'd have less creatures, and I'd have more enhancements and stuff like that, and I could slim this deck down real fast. But I think what I have in here is very, very similar. It really screams undead Gravedigger, more or less. With a penchant for relics and artifacts. So, what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to basically play test that through and see what's in there. And then I bought a special deck for this RPG tournament. Thanks for Ultra Dex Box. Zombies, because again, I like to go with a theme for each deck. This one was a pirate deck, so diplomacy was more like parlay. Then I have my standard green cards, which are for general card games, and then I had these kind here, which were magic, anime girls and stuff like that. And I put them in separate boxes and stuff like that. But this one basically has, if I get it open, and here you go. This one has basically the undead zombie sleeves. So I think they're going to fit in really well with Samler and do a pretty good job with that. So after I play test, make sure I've got the right number of cards. Really, it's just going to come down to one play test, maybe two tops. See if I want to add a motivator, just one single motivator. And also, when you play test like that gives you an opportunity to kind of shuffle your deck while you're doing it. Because as you can see, I have a lot of stuff that's right on top of each other. So beforehand, instead of spending a lot of time shuffling, I can just get that done. All right. So again, my name is Redmage with Children of Titan. You can visit us at www.childrenoftitan.com. Check out the forums there. Discuss strategies. How did you make your deck? You can also post your character sheets up there. Samler should be up there. I hope it should be finished by now. And should be posted there in the forums. You can also check out a lot of the history of Dark Legacy. So if you want to get a little bit more of a storyline, there is a section up there for it. There's a lot of articles that we have and some interviews with the creator, Kaisar himself. You can even learn to play the game. There we have the videos up on that for where the creator of the game actually shows you how to play the game. Very, very easy to learn. It's kind of like Othello, seconds to learn, lifetimes to master kind of a thing. So hope you all enjoyed this little tutorial video. I hope to make some more of these as I begin to make some other decks. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to follow me at Redmagejr. You'll see all the details in the video. At Redmagejr, you can also follow Children of Titan at Children of Titan on Twitter. And then you can also go on Facebook, The Children of Titan. Make sure to put The Children, facebook.com/The Children of Titan. And we hope to see you all on the tournament circuit and especially on the forums. Thanks for joining me.